One of the last unknowns in the world is the Amazon jungle, with the Amazon River flowing briskly through its wild interior. The Amazon is home to many frightening creatures, many of which resemble our worst nightmares. Green Anaconda. While black caiman are known to take on anacondas, the green anaconda would probably give any caiman a run for its money. The title of the largest snake in the world is nothing to laugh at, with these beasts growing to a length of over 30 feet long and weighing a whopping 550 pounds or more. It should be mentioned that reticulated pythons are somewhat longer than green anacondas, but are nowhere near as heavy or deadly. You can be safe knowing that these snakes are not venomous, but that hardly matters if you happen to come across a hungry specimen in the wild. They use constriction to squeeze their prey to death and have been known to attack humans without hesitation if they're startled or hungry. They don't spend too much of their time properly in the Amazon River, preferring smaller estuaries and offshoots that are more shallow. This allows the green anaconda to sneak up on its prey more effectively, often using stealth and surprise instead of engaging in a drawn-out chase or other such engagement. A type of boa, the term anaconda overwhelmingly refers specifically to the green anaconda, which has captured the attention of filmmakers who have cemented the snake in our consciousness as something to be rightfully worried about. Their color pattern is usually an olive green, hence the name, with black markings along their entire body. Its eyes are set quite high in its skull, allowing the snake to slither across the surface of the water and still keep prey in sight. With these snakes being so elusive, residing quite deep in the jungle and usually far from humans, we don't really know much about them, and there are many conflicting reports with regard to its maximum size, which is still a hot topic of debate. They're also nocturnal and spend most of the daytime hours out of sight, emerging at night to hunt. They're a lot like the black caiman, being apex predators in their own right. They feed on just about anything that moves, with very few animals being able to do the snakes any damage, let alone put up a realistic fight. They even take on jaguars or black caiman, coming out on top more often than not, cementing the green anaconda as a fearsome predator, not to be trifled with under any circumstance. They also engage in cannibalism, although most of these cases involve females eating males, with some suggesting that this is a case of sexual dimorphism, much like what we expect from a female praying mantis. Gestation periods are quite long for the green anaconda, with the male supplying sustenance to help make it through the long months. Black caiman. Black caiman are undoubtedly the heavy hitters of the Amazon River. They're absolutely massive creatures and are basically living fossils, with their physiology remaining relatively unchanged for longer than we can even begin to fathom. They're notoriously large, dwarfing crocodiles all over the world and growing to a length of 20 feet, which is absolutely massive. Despite their name, they are very much crocodilian, being one of the largest members of the Crocodilia order. Indeed, they're considered to be the largest reptile in the Neotropical ecozone, which spans the entirety of South America as well as much of the Caribbean. They're known to attack pretty much anything that moves or gets too close, including people. Being carnivorous makes them something to be incredibly wary of. While attacks on humans are relatively rare, they do occur more than we'd like to admit. These predators will lie in wait for quite a long time before finally making their move, with many victims having no time to react before their attacker is upon them. Native to South America, the Amazon is one of their last refuges, with human encroachment forcing them to retreat further into the jungle. Still, they can be found in abundance relatively close to human settlements, especially along the outskirts of the jungle, where they still maintain their stealthy vigil. Juvenile caiman are more brightly colored than adults, with their name being derived from the fact that many appear to be dark black in appearance. The black caiman is somewhat different from others in the caiman family, growing to such massive lengths because they really don't have any competition to speak of other than from people. Not too much is known about how they fit into their particular ecosystems, but many scientists are convinced that they play a vital role in keeping order. Despite the fact that they're fearsome predators, their valuable hides made them targets for poachers who hunted them almost to extinction until well into the 1980s. This is part of the reason we don't know much about how they operate in their natural habitat, with very little study done on them before now. Their vicious nature also doesn't help move things along in that regard, with the black caiman being a terrifying sight up close, especially when agitated, which is seemingly most of the time. Also worth noting is the fact that the black caiman doesn't have any qualms about eating its own, routinely chomping down on smaller species of caiman also found in the Amazon, and even cannibalizing smaller members of their own species if food happens to be scarce or they end up feeling lazy. Even fully grown anaconda are targets of the black caiman, and we think watching that showdown would be spectacular, to say the least. Kangaroo. While you may not recall the name of these tiny fish, you might remember what they're best known for, which is swimming right up into the urethra of passing swimmers, causing all sorts of issues and a ton of pain for anyone unlucky enough to cross them. These freshwater fish aren't all that common, with attacks of that nature being relatively rare, but the fact remains that there are at least a few confirmed cases of swimmers needing a surgery after a kangaroo lodged itself inside them, refusing to come back out again. These fish are parasitic, covered with tiny spines on their back, which extend once they work their way into, small spaces. Their actual prey are generally fish, with the kangaroo swimming into the gills of their unsuspecting victims, remaining stuck in there with their spines. Once they're firmly in place, the kangaroo then happily begins sucking out the host's blood. Just imagine what kind of pain they could cause if they happened up your urethra and decided to go to town on your insides. One case even saw a kangaroo seemingly trying to make its way all the way into some poor guy's testicles, which would have been excruciatingly painful, if not a touch embarrassing. We assume that women are similarly at risk, although we, quite thankfully, weren't able to find any confirmed attacks of that kind. Many experts have claimed that the few confirmed reports of urethral engagement by kangaroo are few and far between, with the fish simply becoming confused, usually wary of people. We say that's not all that comforting because we don't care how confused they are, we just want to keep them far away from us, just in case. Funnily enough, the kangaroo is actually a species of catfish, which seems to be a more dangerous species than some of its cousins have led us to believe. Their size varies, with most being teeny tiny, but at least one specimen reaching a length of over a foot long. The good news for any swimmers out there is that the largest fish aren't about to cause issues for people, with the smaller varieties causing most of our problems. Arapaima. This massive carnivorous fish is thought to be the cause of countless deaths and disappearances throughout the Amazon, although proof of this is somewhat scarce. One thing is for sure, and that's the fact that these fish are absolute beasts, reaching insane lengths and sizes. They're thought to grow to be at least 9 feet in length and weigh upwards of 400 pounds, with many researchers suggesting that they can actually grow much larger. Not much is known about these fish, as their natural habitat is difficult to navigate, and the fish themselves are usually quite elusive. They used to be much more prevalent along the Amazon River, until overfishing and habitat loss forced them to retreat much deeper into the jungle. It's still considered to be an important source of food for many locals, although most communities don't see them all that often these days. What sets the Arapaima, also known as Pirarucu or Peiche, apart from other aquatic denizens is the fact that they need to breathe air to survive, breaching the water's surface to inhale fresh oxygen through their gills. They tend to give off a strange coughing sound when they do this. Despite their needing air to survive, they can stay underwater for up to 10 to 20 minutes at a time and feed predominantly on other fish. They're able to live amongst all sorts of other predators without fear of being attacked or injured, as the entirety of their body is covered with massive, armored scales that are quite difficult to penetrate. Originally considered to be one fish, the Arapaima is actually made up of at least 4 distinct species, all of which have no migratory patterns to speak of. They have massive dorsal fins located to the rear of the body, allowing them to move quite quickly and be quite agile as well. More interesting is the fact that Arapaima hold their young in their mouth to protect them as they grow to maturity. This is a pretty cool feature, and one that not many of today's known fish species utilize. Native to the Amazon, the Arapaima has been introduced to ecosystems as far afield as Thailand in order to provide food, but they tend to be quite invasive, taking over and killing off fish endemic to the area. Adding to the terrifying look of the massive carnivore are the sets of teeth attached to its tongue, marking it as a fish that can hold its own, evolving specifically to eat meat with absolute ease. It remains to be seen whether or not human habitation will force these fish to engage in a fight for their lives, although they do fight back every once in a while, drowning locals and eating them alive with no trace left behind. While this doesn't happen too frequently, many expect that Arapaima attacks will continue to increase as people move in on their traditional habitat, which ultimately spells disaster for the aquatic predators.
Fish with human teeth. Can you imagine going swimming through the Amazon River and finding a fish with human teeth? Yep, teeth like yours and mine. And it's not a prank. If you don't believe us, you would want to keep watching this video because far from being a fantastic imaginary case, it's actually true. For example, a few years ago, Jeff Evans, an American fisherman, discovered this strange fish when he was trying to catch trout at Silverbell Lake in Tucson, Amazonas. At first, there was nothing strange, but the surprise came when he removed the hook and noticed the fish had perfect human teeth. Yep, just as you heard it. Sure, now you're wondering, how is it possible that there's an animal species like this one? Well, we're going to explain it to you. According to researchers, it's a fish called pacu. It lives in the fresh waters of South America, which are found in most of the rivers and streams in the basins of the Amazon and Orinoco rivers. It doesn't belong to deep waters because it can barely manage to exceed 15 meters in depth. The fish can reach between 50 and 90 centimeters long, and it can weigh approximately 8 or 10 kilograms. It's caught and eaten in some countries, and there has even been reported cases of sightings in Papua New Guinea, where it was artificially introduced to help the local fishing industry. It turns out the pacu is related to the carnivorous piranha, and although both have very different eating habits, they share the same subfamily. The piranha is a carnivorous species that has sharp teeth, while the pacu is omnivorous with vegetative tendencies. It has straight and square teeth, hence the fact that its jaw is so similar to that of human beings. Awesome, right? Well, it will seem much more amazing to know that this rare species is particularly attracted to the fat in our blood, urine or sweat. Although it feeds mainly on mollusks, crustaceans, and weeds of various types, there has been cases in New Guinea where this fish has attacked the private parts of some men by confusing this area with fruit. You should be more careful from now on when you go swimming in rivers then, especially if you're in South America or New Guinea. You wouldn't want to suffer an unwanted accidents when all you want to do is take a relaxing swim. And pus moth caterpillar. Do you think all the things the Amazon hides are creepy? Maybe you should continue watching this video before jumping to conclusions. This time we bring you a very interesting caterpillar, better known as the pus moth caterpillar, although it can also be called many other things. It has this name thanks to its spongy and adorable appearance, which is very different from the rest of existing caterpillar species. However, this doesn't mean you can keep it and watch its transformation to a beautiful butterfly. Don't let the appearance of this insect fool you. At first, the small worm may seem peculiar, to the point of wanting to touch it and take it home as a pet. But the tenderness that it causes can be dangerous for skin contact. You don't believe us? Then it will surprise you to know that its apparently soft and defenseless fur actually covers thorns that can dig into the palms of your hand. And that's not it. These insects also release a toxic poison, causing severe pain and swelling, and it makes your hand and skin expand in a matter of seconds. Now, are you considering it better to touch this creature? We're sure that's the case. According to civil protection reports, some children in Florida and North Carolina experience unbearable pain, even stronger than a bee sting, after touching this dangerous caterpillar. Some of them pat the animal, while others suffer the consequences when it fell from the trees right on top of them. Fortunately, there are first aid methods in case of such emergencies, such as removing the spines immediately from the injured area and washing the affected area with soap and water. That way, you can go to the doctor right away. In this case, it can't be done, you might want to call 911, as that might be your best option. So, if you ever plan to go hiking on the Amazon River, or even in parts of Florida and North Carolina, it's best to keep your children away from possible spongy and tender caterpillars. You wouldn't want that trip, which was intended to be fun and touristic, to end up becoming a walk of terror. The Ancestral River. To finish our list today, we decided to show you one of the most incredible discoveries that has been made in the Amazon. This time, it's not about lost people or scary animals. It's the largest underground river in the world, measuring approximately 6,000 kilometers long, a distance quite similar to the Amazon River itself. With places as fascinating as this in the world, we know Mother Nature has done well on this earth. Baptized with the name Hamza, in tribute to the Indian scientist Valia Manathal Hamza, who's been studying the region for more than 4 decades, it's a water flow about 4,000 meters below the Amazon River. You wouldn't have never imagined this, right? People automatically assume between the lakes and rivers that they're only fish and rocks. They never believe that they can find a space like this, but it is possible, and the Amazon is proof of that. These groundwaters also run in a course similar to one of the Amazon, and they have a calculated flow of about 3,000 cubic meters per second. That's quite fast. However, many debates have been generated among scientists, since some believe that it's only a lake formed by leaks from the same river. They also say that Hamza would be unlikely to reach the Atlantic Ocean because the sedimentary basins with porous rocks are separated by deposits of much older rocks, which serve as impermeable barriers. In short, the incredible thing about this discovery is maybe the possibility of finding more similar river systems in other parts of the world. Scientists speculate that since there's a river almost parallel to the Amazon, this phenomenon can be repeated in other places. In addition, we'd be talking about virgin waters, that is to say, rivers that have never been touched by another human being until the day of their discovery. What do you think? We agreed that visiting such a majestic place is probably going to be an unforgettable experience.